Here's how you can steal TED Talk's story formula to win meetings, interviews, and even arguments in 2025. Most people get ignored when they speak and they don't even realize it. But the best TED Talk speakers don't leave attention up to chance. They build it and then they control it. I stole their 4-part storytelling formula and it honestly changed everything for me. Today I'm giving you that exact blueprint so you can make people listen when it actually matters. The blueprint looks like this: setup, spark, shift, and stakes. Those 4 S's are the foundation behind every great TED Talk you've ever seen. In this video, I'll walk you through each section and break down a real TED example, so you can structure your stories in a way that captures attention and changes people's minds. Starting with the setup. This is phase 1. If you fail here, you need to stop. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. Because if you can't immerse your audience instantly, good luck getting them to care about anything you say after. TED Talks don't open with a "hi, I'm so-and-so." No, they drop you in the moment fast. Let me show you a good example of this.
But on the morning of December 10, 1996, I woke up to discover that I had a brain disorder of my own. A blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And in the course of 4 hours, I watched my brain completely deteriorate in its ability to process all information.
Now there's some hidden strategy here that most people miss. Let's break it down before I show you how to do it yourself. Joe's opening works because of 3 things. 1, it's very specific. She gives you an immediate timestamp of December 10th, 1996. You're immediately thrusted into the moment. 2, there's personal stakes. I had a brain disorder of my own. We immediately know who's speaking and what's at risk. 3, an escalation. A blood vessel exploded. There's no warm-up. She immediately puts you in this stressful moment. Psychologically, this hits hard. She's not explaining a concept, she's dropping the audience into an unfolding emergency. And your brain reacts fast to identify the threat. Wow, a brain scientist is watching her own brain fail. Even if you're not describing your own stroke, you can still use a similar setup. Start by instantly anchoring attention. Drop your audience in the moment. There's no backstory necessary. You don't need to give them extra details. Use a timestamp, a personal stake, or a sense of urgency to immediately hack into their brain. You're gonna trigger that natural curiosity and you're gonna instantly have your audience hooked. Because honestly, if you can't get the setup right, the rest of your story doesn't even matter. No one's listening. So make sure you take extra time to build this out and really think it through. But after the setup, there's still one more question you need to answer. How are you going to make your audience care? After anchoring their attention, you need to earn it. This is where tension comes in. Every great TED speaker does this. They introduce a spark, a problem, a surprise, an emotional trigger. It turns the entire room from, "Okay, I'm listening," to "I need to hear how this ends." Let's see how Bill Gates used the spark to reframe his entire message.
If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes.
The first thing he does is introduce a threat. Over 10 million people could die. The audience immediately understands that pressure. Then he flips the expectations. It's not going to be missiles, it's going to be microbes. This immediately reframes how you see a global catastrophe. And yes, if you're wondering, he did say this before COVID-19 was even a thing. In under 15 seconds, he completely flips the conversation. No ramp, no talking about unnecessary details. Just a spark and attention that demands resolution. You're priming your audience to want your solution. Psychologically, you're hitting their primitive threat detection. Immediately, they're worrying about if this is something they should fear. That's the moment you shift them from passive listening to active engagement. You have your entire audience's attention now. Here's how you can use it in your own speeches. So after you anchor the attention with the setup, you need to introduce the spark quickly. That could be a problem your audience didn't see, a fact that contradicts what they're currently thinking, or just something super unexpected. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to disrupt their current thinking to raise a question they want answered. When that moment lands, you create the curiosity gap. That's a distance between who they are right now and what they could be with your knowledge. Closing that gap is where persuasion lives. If there's no spark, there's no shift. If there's no shift, there's no influence. But don't worry, next I'll show you how to use the shift to actually change your audience's mind. But first, leave a like and subscribe. I cut through all the noise to only give you what actually works. Now, the shift is the moment where something happens. Not a change in the plot, but a change in the speaker. A realization, a mindset flip, or a deeper truth. These all build trust beyond the surface level with your audience. It's the moment where your story stops being about information and starts being about your transformation. Let me show you how this speaker used it flawlessly.
I realized that I had been so immersed in the media coverage of Mexicans that they had become one thing in my mind. the abject immigrant. I had bought into the single story of Mexicans, and I could not have been more ashamed of myself.
The power in this clip isn't from her trip to Mexico. It's the admission of guilt. It's the fact that she's willing to feel vulnerable with her audience. She shifts from sharing what was happening to her to what she was doing to other people. She's not just telling a story, she's challenging her own biases. This is causing the audience to think introspectively and wonder, what beliefs do I have that I may need to change? That emotional reversal is what creates trust. But here's how it becomes persuasive. When you show your audience that you've changed your mind in the past, it shares with them that they can too. Transformation is completely contagious. Psychologically, this dismantles their own resistance. They stop looking for flaws in your logic. Instead, they see themselves in you. They're no longer thinking, do I agree with this? Instead, they're thinking, I've been there before. So they want to find ways to change just like you did. So when you're speaking, that's exactly what this shift does. It makes your audience more emotionally flexible, more willing to accept new ideas, and understanding of your beliefs. You're not manipulating or pushing them in any direction. You're just sharing the path you've already walked. So far, you've grounded the audience, sparked tension, and shown personal change. Here's the final piece: the stakes. Because a story that doesn't answer why does this matter gets forgotten. Stakes make your story stick. Great speakers use one of three things as their stakes. 1, the cost of failure. 2, the reward of change. Or 3, the pain of inaction. Let me show you how Zachary Abraham used this perfectly.
I do it for the victims of terrorism and their loved ones, for the terrible pain and loss that terrorism has forced upon their lives. For the victims of terrorism, I will speak out against these senseless acts and condemn my father's actions.
He's not telling a story anymore, he's drawing a line. That line doesn't just separate him from his father, who was a terrorist, it separates him from who he could have became. This isn't a reflection, it's a commitment. He's saying, I know what silence creates, and I'm not going to be a part of that. When the audience understands that if this story just had went slightly different, a lot more people could have died. That is stakes. In your own speech, you need to raise the gravity of the situation. If people don't listen, what happens? If you're giving a presentation on how to be prepared for a certain career, give the alternative. If you don't prepare, you will not get this job. It's impossible. Because if you can make them feel the cost of inaction, you're not just getting attention, you're moving people. And that is exactly what persuasion is. So here is the full formula. Set up to anchor attention, spark to create tension, shift to show transformation, and stakes to show why it actually matters. Use this structure and you'll stop sounding like you're just there to talk. You're gonna start sounding like someone who deserves to be listened to. If you want to go deeper into the technical side of public speaking, go check out my last video. It breaks down some brutal truths that most people ignore and why your delivery may be killing your message before you even start. Thanks for watching.